Hi, my name is Sasha. Thanks for being here. These are a few yoga poses. It's a short sequence for anyone who's experiencing achiness, soreness in the areas of the front of the thigh and the psoas, the outer leg, like the IT band, into the outer hip. That can sometimes lead into the lower back, lower pelvic area, and the back of the leg, the hamstrings. Really, for me, this started as a soreness and an achiness in the front of the thigh, and then I realized as I started doing a lot of these poses that there was also pain in the outer leg, the outer hip, the lower back, the back of the leg. So that's what I'm addressing today for you. I hope it's helpful. Please take it in strides. If you need to pause the video and stay in a pose longer, you can do that. You can also stop and modify or skip a pose if it's not working for you. The thing is with these muscle groups is they're connected, especially the front of the leg and the psoas. They're connected to the pelvic region and all of the organs that live in that area, like the digestive tract, the reproductive organs. And if there's any cramping or discomfort or dis-ease in there, it can result in pain in the muscles and the joints. It could also be vice versa. Sometimes if there's stress on the muscles, whether that's from physical stress or mental stress, we hold a lot of stress in this area, it can result in discomfort in the organs, sometimes even in the diaphragm and the lungs. So we're just gonna relax them, open them up if they feel a little bit tense. Again, if anything is too much for you, you modify, and be really, really gentle. So this is not like an active sequence where we're activating the muscles. It's more restorative, a little bit more yin-like. We're gonna mix those up and breathe. So take care of yourselves. I have 2 yoga blocks, a strap. You might not need it. We'll see how we do at the end. A blanket, a nicely folded blanket, and a pillow, just in case. I also have a couch here in case you want to get really creative. We're going to start just seated for a moment and breathe. If you need to sit on something, you can sit on a pillow, a cushion, just to elevate, and that might actually be really nice to release the inner thighs. We're not really trying to open up this inner thigh area a lot today, but it does happen as a result, and it is, because it is all interconnected, it might provide some relief. So when you're here, let these muscles just soften and release. Notice if you're gripping the psoas or even the outer hips and the knees upward. And as you sit on something a little higher, it can help to descend that place. So you can even use your fingertips on either side to lift the torso up and let the pelvis and the knees go down. Lift the belly up just a little bit so that there's space and there's no compression downward onto the pelvic region. It's almost like someone has hands on your outer ribs and they're kind of just gently picking you a little bit up. You can place the hands on the legs to remind them to relax and let the eyes close. And we're just going to take 3 easy breaths together in and out of the nose. And you might even imagine the breath going to the areas, traveling and releasing any areas that feel tense. Wherever that is in the legs, the hips, maybe it's even in the belly or the ribs. Maybe it's just in the mind. So when you exhale next, let it come out of the mouth, easy and long. We'll take 3 easy breaths together in and out of the nose. So inhale fully. And out of the nose, exhale. 2 more times like that. Inhale. Sit up a little taller. Exhale out of the nose. Let the legs release if you've gripped any muscles there. And the last time on your own, inhaling and exhaling out of the nose. And when you're done, you can let the eyes open. Thank yourselves for being here, for taking care of yourself. We'll start in child's pose to have a nice just general compression of the legs. It's a little opening of the inner thigh and of the outer leg. It's a gentle opening of the outer hips. So you can put a pillow under your butt if you need like on top of your heels if you can't sit down. You can stack a lot of blankets or several pillows as long as you're equal, but the point is to sit down because there's a compression, a nice compression of the legs. It's, like I said, a gentle opening, and it creates space for the abdomen and the organs there as well. So once you're seated with the butt on the heels and the knees just a little bit wider than the torso, you can start to walk yourself forward and take your time. There's also this line from the back of the thigh that comes like up the back of the butt, the pelvis, the back of the pelvis, and the lower back. And this is a nice opening of that region as well. If you need something under the forehead, you can certainly put it there, like a block or a pillow or a blanket. And if not, you just put the forehead down. And the arms can be active here for this, since it creates nice space in the spine. So it's almost like you're pushing the hands a little bit forward and down, rolling the arms in, and letting the butt go back with the push of the hands forward. So we'll just take a few breaths here, and notice if you're gripping any muscles in the legs or the hips, let that completely release, and let the weight go down. It's a really nice compression of the calves where we can also hold stress. And it releases a lot of tension that might be held if you've been gripping the outer hips or even the inner thighs, even the belly. You can do this if you're pregnant on your cycle. Take 2 more breaths, just long and simple, easy, calm. Let the breath fill up the whole torso. Last breath. This is called Child's Pose or Adho Mukha Virasana, downward facing hero's pose. That's the pose or the posture of the legs in this shape. So to start to come up, you can certainly stay there for longer if that felt nice, and sit up for a moment, let the blood come back down, take a few breaths. And then we're just going to sit. So if it's accessible, you'll just come forward on hands and knees, cross the shins, and sit back on the butt. If you need to, roll to the side, sit however you need. You can sit on something like a pillow or a folded blanket. If you don't need anything, you just sit as you are. You have 2 options for this. This is kind of a yin posture. So you can bring the legs forward, it's also yoga posture, together with the feet together and the knees wide. And this is not Baddha Konasana with the feet close. This is a little bit wider, longer. And you'll take a block if you need it, or a couple pillows or a bolster if you have it. And you have to kind of place the block as it's best for you and your torso and your legs. So find a shape that works. I think I have to put mine a little bit forward, yeah. So I have quite a bit of space between my pelvis and my heels. And as I go forward, I might even need to like tilt the block a little bit, or put it on my feet, or bring my feet a little bit in. It's not really great to tilt the block. If it's really steady, it can stay there, but I would rather it for you, for me to be stable. And then you can let the arms rest by the side. If your legs are long and you go quite forward, the block might even go inside, and you can even let your arms rest under, but that doesn't work for me. See here. So it depends on where your head lands. You don't really even need a head support. You can even just let your head drop. And this actually, I think, works the best for me personally. Oh yeah, it feels great. So this is option 1. If you're happy here, you can stay. You can see the elbows are just on the outer edges of the shins, and the whole form is down, and the upper back is spread here. And this is a really nice, gentle opening of the inner thigh and the outer leg all the way up the lower back. This felt really good for me. So if you're happy here, you can stay for quite a while, like up to even 5 minutes. If you'd like to consider something else, you can do sometimes what people call a double pigeon, but it might not be a double pigeon. You might just have to cross the shins. So option 2 has 2 options. You can either cross the shins, just one in front of the other. There's a little space in the pelvis. Or you can stack, taking the heel or the ankle of one leg, stack that outer ankle on top of the other knee. But you'll see I'm not rolling the ankle. I'll do it on the other foot so you can see. So it's almost like I'm pressing the heel into something and I'm not rolling. So if you are rolling the ankle, you might need to sit on something, or you might just need to cross one shin in front of the other. So please do what's best for you. That's option 2, and you have 2 options for option 2. And once you have your option, you go forward. This one's a little bit more intense. So I like to have a block for this one because it's more intense for me. But you might not be able to put your head on anything. It might be quite difficult. You can even like sit in front of a couch and put your forehead on a couch. But again, you can let the forearms relax here in front of you. And obviously, if you're taking this double pigeon, or sometimes I think in yin it's called shoelace, you have to switch sides after maybe like a minute up to 2, maybe even 5 minutes if that feels, if you're starting to like really get into it. It might feel really intense when you start, like it is for me right now. You can see my shoulders are a little shrugged. You don't have to turn your head if you don't want to, but the goal, the optimal position, and the optimal experience is to start to release the shoulders away from the ears and breathe into the back of the body. And just for timing's sake, I'm going to come up and switch. This is pretty intense for me, but the optimal experience of yin, and you switch very gently, is to hold the shape without moving intensely. You might move naturally, so I stretch my legs between sides. You might move naturally, you might like adjust naturally, things might shift naturally, but you're not like moving yourself purposefully. If that makes sense. So you're not trying to change the shape. The shape might just kind of melt into a slightly more relaxed state, hopefully, over time. So you're just breathing in whatever shape you're in. Maybe it's the first shape with the feet together. I believe it's called Tarasana in yoga. I have to look it up. But with the feet together and a little bit forward of the pelvis and the knees wide, maybe that was your preferred posture. Otherwise, you're in this double pigeon or shoelace pose. And you're breathing, and you might notice how it feels. Like I can adjust already my head a little bit, like I started to sink a little bit more. You might feel how it relates to tension in the shoulders or even the belly. And then if you finish both sides, you can come up, and again, you can stay for much, much longer. You can even face the couch, like I said, and put your head on there, or a chair, like with your forearms on a chair, if you can't go all the way down. You can also just like stay in this position with your hands a little bit in front. You can even just sit upright, maybe that's enough for you. And again, if you needed to, you can always cross your shins and do that same pose. It's still a really nice effect. So you stretch your legs between sides, just kind of open up the backs of the legs and roll them in and out. Sometimes I like to give them a little massage. Feels nice for me personally. And then we're gonna come onto let's come onto the belly first. So put everything aside, come onto the belly. Make sure you have space on either side of you. And you put the hands under the forehead and the elbows wide, and you can open your feet maybe like a little bit wider than hip width apart, and you'll put your forehead on the hands. And just breathe here. You can kind of rock your butt right to left. Feels really nice on the pelvis. And then once you're settled here, you'll open up one knee out to the side, just at the height of the hip. So the inner thigh is opening, but you're not trying to like push it or overstretch it, but it is opening. And you're letting this outer hip, outer butt area release downward towards the floor, and you're breathing into the back. So just take a few moments here. If it's really uncomfortable for your inner knee on this side, you can like put a blanket on the floor that lets it slide, and that pads the inner knee a little bit. So just enjoy this shape. You can turn your head to the side if that feels nice. Relax the shoulders. Our bodies are so interconnected. So often if there's tension in one area, another area that seems unrelated might also feel tense. Like when we're doing these poses, you might notice how there's also tension in the shoulders. And once you start to release the hips and maybe even the belly, the shoulders, the neck, the chest might even release and relax more as well. And you'll just gently come back to the center and do the other side. If that was really excellent for you, you can certainly stay longer. So you're just kind of like open your knee out to the side, equal with the hip. It doesn't have to go so high. And then you just breathe and let this whole outer hip area release down. So if you're like lifting it up, see if you can relax the belly, relax this inner leg. And again, if it's kind of uncomfortable in the inner knee, you can put something there to pad it. But just see if it can maybe pad the whole inner edge of the shin. If not, that's okay. So you just take a few breaths here into the whole body. Notice if you're tensing your shoulders or your neck or your back. And you can stay longer or come back to the center. And again, just breathe here and be equal. You can rock your butt right to left. And then we're going to come onto the back. So I'm just going to do a little flip right onto the back. And bend the knees and flatten the feet here. Put the hands on the belly. And walk the feet a little bit wider and let the knees knock into each other. And so the feet, you'll have to adjust to your best shape. So they might have to go a little bit further forward. They might have to come a little bit further in. But they're wide enough so that when the knees touch each other, you can release the belly and you can release the muscles of the hips. So there's no gripping. And the weight is kind of moving in towards each other on each knee. You can even give yourself a hug here. I believe I did this in my achy shoulders video. And you just take a few breaths into the upper back, relaxing the legs, and you can switch the sides of the arms just for a moment here. And then as you're on your back, make sure you have space. I have to move a little bit because of the couch, but you're going to knock the knees over like a windshield wiper. I like to grab opposite elbows overhead. I think it creates a really nice, long, spacious place for the lungs and the ribs to breathe. If not, you can just kind of cactus your elbows out to the side or stretch the arms out to the side like a T. And then you'll knock the knees over to the left without changing the width of the feet. And you'll relax the belly. So you're not trying to press the ribs up or down, but you're just trying to release any tension or pushing upward of the belly or the ribs. Keep the eyes relaxed. This for me is so nice, from the knee through the top of the thigh and the psoas all the way up the belly to the armpit. And again, it's this gentle opening of the inner thigh on the other side as well. So just take a few breaths here. Notice again if you're like pushing your back up or trying to press it down, and see if you can just release any tension so it feels as neutral as possible. And then you can stay here longer or come up through the center and switch the cross of the elbows and go to the other side. So again, I have to move a little bit to make sure I have space. So anything that's in the way, you can always move your body or move the object. Like objects and obstacles are movable. You don't have to just let your knees rest on a block if they're there. If you don't need that block, you can always move it, or if you're close to a couch or a chair, just move yourself around so you have space. And take a few more breaths here. Again, notice if you're pushing the ribs or the belly up. If there's any gripping in the hip, it might release over time. It might just need a few more breaths. So again, you can definitely stay longer if you need to. And then you'll come back to center. Oh yeah, it feels so nice. And just pause in the center. Again, you can bring your knees, knock them in towards each other. You can place the hands on the belly. Okay, and then we'll take something similar as what we did seated, this figure 4 shape, or it was the double pigeon or the shoelace shape when we were seated. So you'll take the feet in just behind the butt and cross the right ankle on top of the left thigh, And you can use the right hand to kind of press the thigh a little bit away from you. And that might be enough. Like maybe this is too much for you. And if that is, you can just take that other windshield wiper pose again. Otherwise, if this is good, you stay here. Or you can start to bring your other knee, your left knee in and interlace the hands behind the back of the thigh. And this shin, the left shin, is just dangling. You can flex the right foot a little bit and use this right elbow to kind of press the inner right thigh gently open as you guide the left thigh towards you. And if you can go further, you can always interlace your hands around the left shin, but if that's too much, you just stay where you are. You just take a few breaths here. Notice if you're really rocking onto one side and see if you can get into the center of the pelvis as much as you can. Keep the collarbones open and relax the belly. If you're cranking your neck at all here, you might just have to back off and put the left foot back down. So you don't want your neck to be like thrust open or pressed down into the chest. It's just neutral. If it's really in pain, you can always put something small, like a really nicely folded blanket under the back of the head if you really need that support. But the floor is also nice and neutral. And so then you'll just switch sides gently. You'll put the left foot down, put the right foot down, take a breath, and then you'll do the other side. So make sure you're relaxing the pelvis and the belly as you cross the left ankle on top of the right thigh, and you just take the left hand and kind of guide the left thigh away from you a little bit. And either you stay here, especially if you're cranking your neck at all, or you can interlace the hands behind the back of the right thigh and let this right shin and ankle hang out, and let the left elbow kind of just gently guide the left thigh away from you. You can flex the foot a little bit so you keep the ankle and the knee in line. And keep the collarbones open. Notice if you're rocking, see if you can find the center of the pelvis. Relax the belly, and you might be able to guide the right thigh a little closer. And if not, that's okay. You don't push it. You go to the extent that you can go today. And it might feel intense at first, but again, after a few breaths, it can release and relax in a really nice way. So just take one more breath here. And release gently. You might also know, again, after a few breaths, how like the front of the neck, I just noticed it myself, and the front of the chest and the front of the shoulders can relax. So pause after every pose. A pause is always good to reflect and to let the body recenter. And we'll take now one leg. I'll show you and explain it. One leg under the other. So it's almost like the opposite of the shoelace. It's threading it the other way. So I'm going to start with the left leg. The left knee is going to open, and the left ankle is going to go behind the right heel. I love this pose. It really does the trick for me. If this is too much for you, you can take the other pose again, or you can take, again, the windshield wipers. But again, the left knee opens, and the front of the left ankle goes behind the right heel. So it kind of like hooks behind it. You can walk the right heel a little closer if that feels accessible. Relax the belly. So again, you're not like thrusting the ribs upward. You can take now the right hand, the same as the knee that's up, and grab the top of the left foot. The left foot is by the right butt. And you can kind of just like hold on to that and tuck the shoulder blades under you. Not so that you're pressing your chest up, but so that the shoulder blades are nicely in place. It opens the collarbones. And I just like to keep my hand on my left hand on my belly. And you're just breathing here. The right leg stays as it is because it's kind of the blockade for the left foot. Relax the belly as you breathe. Relax the front of the left thigh. This opens up not only the inner thigh in a really gentle way, but also the front of the thigh into the psoas. It also leads into the back of the hip and the lower back a little bit if you can release the belly and not push the back up. So you can take a few more breaths here. Sometimes I stay in this pose on each side for like 5 minutes at a time and just breathe. It's so relieving to me. And then when you're ready, you'll switch sides. So you let go of your hand. You can put the hands on the belly. If you need to, you can use your left hand to kind of help guide your left knee back up, and you take a breath in the center. Oh yeah, that one's delicious. And then you'll do the other side. So make sure you have space. You take the right knee now and let it open, and you take the right foot behind the left heel. You can take the left hand if you want and grab the top of the right foot as you guide that left foot closer. If that doesn't happen, you can just put both hands on the belly. So situate yourself, tuck the shoulder blades under the chest, kind of even yourself out, especially if you tilted to either side. And you can let the right hand rest on the belly and just take a few breaths here, letting the right inner thigh open, relaxing the belly so you're not pushing the back up, and letting that whole area release. You can always close your eyes, but sometimes it's also nice to be calm and alert at the same time, like in the last pose of class, Shavasana. But right now, since we're in a posture that's not Shavasana, you can pick a gazing point on the ceiling and just breathe without moving your gaze, so it's a calm focus. And just take one more breath here. Notice if you're gripping anywhere. Relax the muscles of the pelvis, the muscles around the belly, also the muscles, again, of the neck, the shoulders, the jaw. Oh, yeah. And you'll release that here. Bring the feet down. Organize yourself so you're even on your back. Take a breath. We've done some bent leg poses, so now we'll stretch the legs out one by one. And we did this also, I think, in the shoulder video, because it does nice things for the shoulders and the hips. So you'll just cross one ankle over the other. Let's do the left ankle over the right ankle first. Stretch the arms along the head and grab the left wrist with the right hand. And then as you kind of banana shape yourself over to the right, you'll lean your torso over to the right with your chest facing the ceiling. And you'll also kind of shimmy your legs that direction. Oof, so nice. And it's a nice long line from the outer left ankle to the outer hip, up the side of the waist. And you're not tilting your torso onto the right side. You're still facing the ceiling. So you're just getting this really nice long side stretch on the left side of the body. And again, you're breathing calmly. You're relaxing the belly. And you'll just go to the other side. I love this. I'm going to stay for one more breath. And again, you can stay for longer if you need. Otherwise, you unwind, legs, arms, come back to the center, organize yourself, and then you cross the right ankle or the opposite one over the left. Take the left hand, grab the right wrist, and walk your legs and your torso over to the left. Whew, love it. So as you breathe here, your chest is still facing the ceiling. You're relaxing any areas where there's tension or grip. Mine are mostly in like the ribs and the belly. And you can kind of flex your ankles or your feet a little bit, so there's a nice long line from the outer ankle all the way up the side of the right body to the armpit, to the arm, to the wrist. And then you can kind of relax your feet since you're bound in that shape. And just take one more breath here. Enjoy. And come back to the center and unwind your legs, your arms. Just put the hands on the belly. Take a breath. Last thing, bend the knees, and you have two options for this. You can roll to the side. You can use blocks or blankets. So the blocks, I think we also did this in the shoulder video, go behind you. Turn around. So mine are on the medium height. You can also put them on the lowest height. I like them on the medium. You might have to change the head height as well. This is under the shoulder blades. This is under the head. So when you come down, you are seated with the feet flat. You put your hands back first on the shoulder blade block, and you say, okay, they're underneath my shoulder blades. And then you put your hands, under the head block, and you kind of tuck the shoulder blades in a little. Make sure, again, that the neck is even. You might need to readjust the head. If you need to readjust anything, please come up. I'm also not turning my head here. I'm just looking up at the ceiling. So no turning of the head once you're here. The tailbone gets longer. I need to readjust under my shoulder blade block a little bit. And then as the elbows come out to the side, the feet come in and the knees go wide. I'm hitting my couch, so I need to move myself a little. So that's option one. You can use your hands to press your chin up first and then your chest just to a comfortable seat. That's option one. Option two is using a long blanket underneath you. So I'm unfolding it and then folding it once so it's long. And you put this under the spine. I'm going to rearrange so I don't hit my couch and fold the top part for the head. This might not stay, so we'll see. So I sit in front of it. So it's kind of in like my lumbar spine. And then I have to readjust this for my head. So this is more, not really on my pelvis. My pelvis is free. This is more like in my lower back, just at the start of my lower back, the bottom of the blanket. And then my pelvis is on the floor. You can lengthen it a little away from you. And you can kind of tuck the top of the blanket up. You might have to use another blanket or the pillow. This works perfectly for me. And then you move any props in the way and you bring the feet together in Baddha Konasana. So that's option two. And then the last one of these, I really like this, so I'm going to stay on the blanket, is to use the strap if you want it. So you have a big loop in the strap. This is the last piece here. Big loop in the strap. And you put it around the torso. So it comes onto the lower back, not the butt, not the middle back, but the lower back, the lower pelvis. It goes in front of the thighs as you bring the heels in front here, and then you bring the strap a little over to the side and you put the front of the strap around the feet so it goes whoop, right under. And I'm going to pull this a little bit so that the buckle is not touching the skin, but it's in a place where I can access the strap and adjust. So you have to readjust a little bit to accommodate you. I'm going to put it down on my lower pelvic area and then start to come down, and this is a really nice way to hold the legs in place. Oh yeah, feels great. So I have my blanket folded, it unfolded a little bit, so I just have to, I'm holding my head with my hand so I'm not just cranking my neck up. No cranking of the neck. And then, oh yeah, this is great. I'm nice and in place. I'm tucking my shoulder blades under. And so do whatever is best for you here, and we'll be here for a few moments. With the strap holding the outer feet like this, it does open the inner thighs quite a bit, but again, you're not trying to force it or push it. It actually is really nice traction for the lower back, and it lets the outer hips plug in to, or the outer thigh plug into the outer hip in a really natural and easeful way. And it can release a lot of tension from moments that you might have gripped them, because this is a passive pose. Like, we're not forcing the muscles into a shape or into a place here. They're just kind of resting in this place. So relax the belly again, relax the ribs, and you can take a few more breaths. You don't need the strap, you don't need a blanket. You can even just lay down on your back. You don't need the blocks. You can just lay down on your back without any props. This is a really nice pose for digestion as well, or if you're on your cycle. It opens up this area really nicely. The belly, the pelvis, the inner thigh, the top of the thigh as it connects to the psoas. And again, it places the outer hips, or the outer thigh and the outer hips in a really nice, equal, neutral, passive way. And once you're ready, if you're without a strap, you can kind of just close your legs together using your hands, if you want, on the outer thighs. Then close your legs like a book. Otherwise, if you're with the strap, you kind of have to shimmy your elbows back to bring yourself up. Calmly release the strap. And then you'll come down on your back. If you really want to do one last pose, I can show you on the blanket or the block. So you can keep the blanket folded like this and put it first and put it under your pelvis. So it's not long, it's wide. And extend your legs out and your arms to the side, especially if you have tension in the psoas. But you can also use a block on the lowest height. And you have to kind of tuck the shoulder blades in a little bit more for this one to release the legs. And this is a more like passive yin pose, but if that's too much for you, you can use the blanket or you use nothing. I like this, so I'm just going to stay here for a moment. And again, relax the belly, relax the psoas, the front of the thigh. You can stay here for much longer, but I'm going to take us now into Shavasana. So if your pelvis is on a blanket or a block, you bend the knees first, one by one, lift the pelvis, release it, and then place the legs long, one by one, with the arms by the side, with enough space for the armpits to kind of breathe. And we'll just take 2 more breaths here. So let the whole body release. Notice if there's any relief, and if there isn't, that's okay. You're just continuing to send the breath to those places that feel tense, and know that that's always an option for you. You can always calm the nervous system and even the muscle groups by guiding the breath to the places in the body, or even the mind, or even the heart, for more esoteric practice. Anywhere that feels tense. And one by one, you can bend the legs, roll to the side, and sit up. And just cross the legs. Sit up tall. Take a breath. You can place the hands together at the chest if that feels nice. And thank yourselves for showing up for yourself. Namaste.